You're listening to Scribble Talk, a podcast for bid and proposal professionals. My name is Baachu, and with my co-host,
Ashley Case,
we will be sitting down with our industry veterans to share their stories, discuss their career, and learn how to make an impact in the industry. Today's guest is Jennifer Namvar. Jennifer is a proven capture director with 18 plus years of experience in all phases of government contracting growth lifecycle, including marketing, business development, capture, and proposal management for both new business and recompetes. She builds a reputation in the GovCon industry by bidding and winning large strategic opportunities with the focus on emerging and next generation technologies and solutions. She has held capture positions at leading federal government contractors, where she successfully closed $2 billion in new and recompete business. She holds a Federal CIO certification and Master of Science in Technology Management from George Mason University and a BA in journalism from the University of Maryland College Park. She cherishes her time with the family. Jennifer is a wife, mother of 2 kiddos, lover of travel, reading, and fashion, and a fitness enthusiast. That's a lot to talk about. Jennifer, welcome to Scribble Talk. Great to have you with us.
Thank you, Bhaskar. It's great to be here.
It's perfect. So, Jennifer, let's go back to the very beginning. Where were you born? And let's talk about your high school and education.
Okay, sure. I was born in Arlington, Virginia, and I moved out of Arlington into Maryland, where I was raised and basically until I was about 21 and left the country. So we can talk about that too. So yeah, I'm from the DMV area, the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, National Capital area, some people call it, and I pretty much grew up there. And so you were asking about my high school. So when I was in Maryland, I was in one area. We were living in a townhouse, and then my parents decided to move. They wanted to move to the country. Both my parents worked in Washington, D.C., and they wanted to move more to the country. So we moved out further. I switched schools, and I went to high school in kind of a rural area of Maryland. And that's when I first got involved in journalism, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I studied in college at University of Maryland. So I was on the school newspaper. I was a deputy editor of the school newspaper. So you can say that I've been involved in that I blog and things like that and put together content. So I was reflecting back on that the other day. I've been pretty much doing that since I was a young teenager. So some things never change, right? So I also was on the swim team in high school, and I did that. But my passion was really in journalism, and that's what led me to going to University of Maryland and studying that.
Wow. And journalism, writing articles and running magazines for the college, was that the very first job that you took, or was there any other jobs in between before you started university?
Oh, actually, I started working at a young age. I was 16 when I started working. Maybe some people started earlier than that. So my mom was actually in the federal government. She was working for the Federal Aviation Administration. And so my first job was actually interning at the Federal Aviation Administration. I think that was my second job. My first job was interning for a government contractor that supported the FAA. So that was my very first job. It was working in the office, working with the government contractors, answering the telephones, doing things like that, sort of administrative work.
Got it. So very young age, you were already entered into government contracting. Maybe you are destined to do government contracting.
I know. I know, right?
That's good. That's good. So from that thing, what brought you into to do your bachelor's in journalism at the University of Maryland?
Well, I was really passionate about journalism. I loved to write. I loved interviewing people, and I sort of had that mentality of I want to travel. I want to change the world. I want to leave this place better than how I found it. That was sort of my idealistic mentality, which I still have, and that's what kind of got me into journalism.
Got it. And did you went on to do your MS in technology management immediately, or did you work in between and you chose to pursue the technology career, technology studies later?
That was later. So what happened with me was I had a few different passions, journalism, and I also loved studying languages. So I was studying Spanish, I was studying Japanese, which I'm half Japanese.
Oh.
And yeah, and I decided after college I was going to go live in Japan and I joined a program called the JET program, the Japan Exchange and Teaching Program, which is still around today. It's a great program for university graduates. I lived there. I lived in Hokkaido, which is the northern island of Japan, where my grandfather lived, and I got to meet my aunts and cousins for the first time. So the first year I was there, I taught English to high schoolers, and that was a real eye-opener for me because I think they were more advanced as freshmen than I was as a senior over there.
Right.
Yeah, they're very advanced in math. And I did that for the first 2 years, and then I moved on. My language skills got a little better, and I became a coordinator for international relations at the mayor's office in a different town in Hokkaido. So that was coordinating with they did a lot of international exchange programs with people from less economically advantaged countries would come over on grants to learn things. So we were working with a lot of people from Malawi, from Pakistan, and other countries that came over to learn how we did things in our town. So it's pretty neat experience. Beautiful area of the country. Most people think of the big city and Tokyo when they think of Japan, but northern Japan is very much wilderness, mountains. I did snowboarding pretty much every weekend in the winters, and then during the summers we would do camping, whitewater rafting, hiking, things like that. So it was nice.
Nice. So can you still speak Japanese?
My Japanese has really gone downhill because it's been a number of years, right? But luckily, and Japanese requires a lot of care and feeding. So that is definitely on my list because it's very rusty now. Luckily, my Spanish is still pretty good. I also studied Spanish for actually longer than I did Japanese, and I lived in Spain for a semester during college. So I've lived abroad 2 times in my life, but I ended up returning to the DMV area after Japan. And that's where I got started in my career in government contracting. And then you were asking about the MS in technology management. I started that about 10 years after I graduated. So it was 10 years went between my bachelor's and my master's.
Got it. I'll just say a line in Japanese. Let's see whether you could decode. Yeah?
Okay.
Jennifer san to kekkon sasude kudasai.
I'm already married.
Yes. No, because my wife is Japanese, right?
Yeah, I noticed her name was Junko, so I thought, oh, she must be Japanese.
So this is the statement that I need to by heart to go and ask Junko's parents. That was the very first line I learned in Japanese. So I just switched it to Jennifer. But it's good that you picked it up. Well done, you. Nice. You passed the test. Let's move on. So you're back to US now, and you started your career there, right?
Yes.
What was the very first role that you took after you finished your degree?
Oh, so after I finished my degree and after I left Japan, I came back to Maryland to my parents' house, and I had made the decision that journalism wasn't really the route I wanted to go. I just saw that it would take a very, very long time to get to the level I wanted to in journalism, and I knew it was incredibly competitive, and I thought that I could use those skills in another way, but I wasn't quite sure how. And then that's how I got into government contracting. So the very first role I took was at a small business. They had just graduated from the 8A program, if you're familiar with that small disadvantaged business program that we have for small business set-asides. And so I took a role there, and I was a writer, I was a technical writer. And I got involved in doing marketing. I got involved in doing proposals and business development. And so I kind of gravitated more toward the proposal side of the house than any of the other sides of the house. And I ended up getting really into proposals from there. And I kind of never stopped.
Yes. So how was it transitioning from journalism into technical writing into proposal writing?
It's actually surprisingly smooth, because I could leverage a lot of the same skills I had learned. Obviously, I knew how to write, and I was able to get to the point right away in my writing, because in journalism you can't bury the lead, right? And in proposal writing is the same way. You should bring up your salient points at the beginning of the paragraph, and so yeah, that was. And also, I did a lot of desktop publishing at the time too, in my first career. So I was really a Swiss Army knife, and because I had done all that desktop publishing back in my newspaper journalism days, it kind of all just made sense. It's a natural progression.
Got it. Because desktop publishing is a super US term. If you can just 1 or 2 lines share what desktop publishing is, that would be great.
Oh, okay. So desktop publishing is sort of formatting documents, putting in graphics, and working with the fonts and the paragraph spacings and kerning and things like that.
Okay, interesting. If you started in technical writing, then you progressed. At what point did you switch from being a proposal manager, proposal director to capture person?
Yeah, so that I have been doing capture for the last 12 years. So I switched to a proposal manager fairly quickly, and then I switched companies a few times, and I ended up in a hybrid role where I was doing proposal management and capture management. So then I ended up officially becoming a capture manager about 12 years ago.
Right. And what do you think that the skill sets required to be a good capture manager, Jennifer? Do you think all proposal managers can switch to become a capture manager, or people need to be built on to become capture?
I think that people need to build on or have different skill sets and different characteristics if they want to get into capture successfully. And I think that many proposal managers can become very good capture managers, but there's a few adaptations that they need to make. And I would say, so one of them is usually proposal managers are not required to go meet with the customer and develop call plans and negotiate with teaming partners and things like that. So they're very focused on the proposal aspect of, once that draft RFP comes out, hopefully they're engaged around then or right before then through the final proposal. The beginning part of the stage, there are some activities, those are some of the activities I just named that proposal managers will need to get involved in. So what characteristics, what skills would they need to have for that? So I would say the ability to develop relationships. So communications is very key. The ability to listen intently and try to read between the lines of what the person is telling you. The ability to negotiate, be persuasive. Leadership, I would say. Proposal managers definitely have leadership. And when you're in capture, sometimes you get in, you're interfacing more with the senior level executives. You're held accountable for the entirety of the capture, including the proposal. So the ability to maneuver those politics to get buy-in, because once you've started the proposal, the company's pretty much already bought in and invested in responding to the proposal. So before that, there's a lot of selling that needs to happen within the company. There is, I think those are the main things that I would say are the things that proposal managers can start to think about and hone when thinking about transitioning from proposal to capture.
That was very comprehensive, Jennifer. Thank you. Jennifer, yesterday we had the BitCon, the Capture conference, and
Yes.
this will be published in 2 weeks' time, so it won't be yesterday when it's published. So you had a very interesting talk yesterday. Do you mind sharing a very summary version of that in 2 or 3 minutes, the gist of your talk?
Sure, absolutely. So it was a talk about developing relationships online, and it was targeted toward capture professionals and BD professionals. The conference was a capture and BD conference, and this was a topic that was crowdsourced and people wanted to get some input in. And I can see it's a timely topic because of the pandemic, and it's a good topic because we are really fundamentally changing the way we develop relationships online. And so the talk was really about how can you do that, and how can you do that in a way where you're not wasting a lot of your time without getting necessarily the results that you want, and how can you sort of power through that, because a lot of times when you're trying to develop relationships, sometimes it goes well and sometimes it doesn't. But I wanted to develop sort of a formula for people to use so that they knew that they were doing everything in their power to build those relationships online, avoid making some of the common mistakes that people make. For example, one of the mistakes I talked about was asking for too much too soon. A lot of times people will reach out to you and they haven't really explained what it is that they want very clearly or what's in it for you, and they'll ask for things like an hour of your time or to go out and have a coffee in better times, and they haven't done the initial framing of the discussion, initial build up to lead to that. So some of the things that I talked about was how do you develop that relationship at the very beginning stages so that the person is curious about you and wants to know more, and how do you continue to cultivate those relationships over time so that they're there when you need to reach out and capitalize on them.
Totally, Jennifer. So successful career, progressed from starting as a journalism career, technical writer, proposal manager, moved on to capture director. At what point did you decide, okay, I'm going to go and start my own company and start to advise companies?
Well, I actually haven't decided to do that. That's definitely something I'm considering doing in the future.
Right.
So yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
So in between you had kids, and how did you balance work life balance, well-being, etc., considering it's a very long work hours and so on? Any interesting memories of balancing both?
Well, one thing I will tell you about capture management versus proposal management, in my experience, the hours are a little bit better for capture management, and here's why. And I'm not saying that the hours aren't bad, because I will tell you, for a month and a half last year, around this time last year, I was in a hotel room, so I was only coming home on the weekends to see my family, but that was during the proposal phase. So as a capture manager, I stay involved from the beginning, like way before the proposal comes out, through the time the proposal is submitted and ends. So when you're a proposal manager, you don't get started that soon, so you don't get as many breaks. So that is one thing that proposal managers who are considering capture can think about, is that you do have a little bit more flexibility in your schedule, but it's still long hours, and it's definitely not a 9-to-5 job. But in terms of my balance and work-life balance, so exercise is a big part of that, and it keeps me energetic. It keeps me young. And I would say that I also do mindset work like journaling. And I try to, although I'm not very consistent, try to do some meditation or some qigong and other things too for the mindset piece. But the bare minimum is definitely exercising and getting some good sleep.
Well said, Jennifer. At what point in your career did you come across APMP, and when did you become a member of APMP?
You know, I came across APMP when I would say it was the 2006 to 2010 timeframe when I was when I first came across APMP, and I have dipped in and out of it. But over the last 2 years, I've been more involved in it because I've noticed that APMP has really made a lot of strides to focus on capture managers. And when I got out of it, it was because I wasn't a proposal manager. So I was like, okay, this is for proposal managers. But now I see that there's a capture certification, there's capture conferences. So I see that they're really catering to my population more. And so that's when I said, you know, I ought to give this another look.
Nice, Jennifer. And before you enter APMP or after you enter APMP, is there any memorable proposal or capture effort that you have in mind for various reasons?
Oh, there's so many memorable capture and proposals for various reasons.
Yes.
Yeah. It's so, I mean,
yeah. Go for it. Explain one or two. Yeah.
I mean, you always remember the failures, I would say, stick in your mind more so than the successes. Even though I'd like to think I've had a lot more successes than failures, but you always learn something from all of them. And I think, you know, it's all about the basics. I mean, it's a fundamental best practices that you have to do, like getting started early, like really understanding your customer and your competition and vetting the solutions with them earlier and building those teaming relationships with those critical team members. So, and I would say from the proposal standpoint, it's, you know, having good processes in place and having a good proposal readiness kind of process in place, and making sure that you've got multiple sets of eyes checking, not just at reviews, but really checking the compliance at every stage of the proposal, and especially before it goes out the door. I think all of those things are just part of the good hygiene that I think is necessary.
Yes, totally true. And in addition to a very busy schedule, you also join NCA on the chapter, and you have been associating with the NCA for a while. Any memorable experiences with NCA?
Yeah, it's been a great experience so far. I'm working with the Marketing and Publicity Committee. That's a committee that I'm on, and working with some great folks on that, and also collaborating with other folks, other committees. And so we rebranded our blog this year, which was fun. Before it was an e-zine, now it's a weekly blog called the National Capital Area Pens Down. And so people get fresh content more frequently than they did before. So we're hoping to really use that as a way to boost the engagement. So that's a lot of fun. And I also am going to be helping the chapter with their video efforts. So I like to create content and videos on LinkedIn, and I think video is a way that, well, not I think, but I know that video is the way that more people are consuming information these days. And I believe that if we produce more video content that's both educational and entertaining, it's a mix that's targeted toward our ideal members, which is primarily proposal managers. I say about 80% proposal managers and 20% capture BD and other folks. And when I say proposal managers, I mean proposal managers, writers, and coordinators. So if we produce that targeted content, I think that's going to kind of bring a good energy. And I noticed that APMP, when I was at the conference yesterday, despite the pandemic, there's a great energy and people are very enthusiastic in the organization. So that's good to see. People are very collegial and they're supportive of each other, and I love that.
Nice. When did you first met Ashley?
I first met Ashley, we were working at a company called Agility, which has since been purchased by SAIC. And let's see, what year was that? I want to say it was 2017 or 2018. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay.
So about 4 years ago.
Got it. Yeah, that's nice. And that's a very good long friendship that which you can touch in the next 5 or 10 minutes, which is great. And from being a chapter member, becoming a chapter board member, and then moving on to present in BitCons and capture conferences, etc. When was the very first time you actually attended a BitCon or an APMP CaptureCon? And when was the first time you actually presented, and how was that experience?
Wow. So my first time presenting was actually at this one. And I feel like it was a really easy one because well, it wasn't easy. It was actually a heavy lift to record it because I wasn't quite sure exactly how to do it, but easy in the sense of it's a lot less pressure than presenting live, which Ashley can talk about in detail. And so that's one. And in terms of the first conference, I'm not exactly sure which one was the first one that I attended, but I have attended several of the ones in the NCA area that they've had, and they've all been great.
Nice. And what do you remember the very first topic that you presented? What's the title, subject?
Last year, actually, I presented on a topic called the 12-point capture health check, which was something that I developed to kind of like a health check of or an inspection of your car, like the 12-point inspection. That's what I talked about last year.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's it. So as a seed into Ashley's round, tell us 3 things not many people know about you, Jennifer.
Okay. 3 things not many people know about me.
Mm-hmm.
One, I would say, is that I used to do flamenco dancing. Okay. So that's something not many people know about me. Another thing that most people don't know about me is that, oh gosh, this is a tough one, Bhaskar. I've already revealed so many things that people probably don't know about me. I would say that I like to do obstacle course racing.
Yes.
So that's something, so I used to have a rope in my backyard and that was hanging from a tree, and I would climb it. So that I would say that's one that a lot of people don't know about me. And I would say the third one that people don't know about me is that let me come back to you on the third one. I gotta give that one a little bit more thought, Bhaskar.
No worries. I think it's brilliant. I think you also touched that you have a heritage in Japan. That's also something not many people might not know about you, which is good. And yeah, that's it. So what I leave here is I'll just leave you in safe hands of Ashley. We'll be going deeper into that and more, actually. So thank you for sharing so far about your early life career, capture, APMP, and related bits. And thanks for letting me know that you're married as well. I know. Imagine you go and ask this question, right? And then to somebody who don't know English. And then even if they respond to you back, you can't understand what you're responding, but this is the question you need to ask them. This is what happened in 2006 on the New Year's Eve in Japan, in Osaka. I just went and asked this, 9:30. Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, my friends, they trained me and they said, Bhaskar, go and ask this question. And you can see their face. If they're happy, that's a good sign. If they're not happy, that's it. Whatever they say, don't care about it. And so I just by-hearted this line. And then I went and I asked my mother-in-law, and she just accepted me. Next morning, she took me to Osaka Castle herself. So she had a translator in her hand. I had a translator in my hand. Instead of going date with your wife, you went to date with your wife's mother, your mother. and then rest is rest. But that's it. So most probably anybody who tells me Japanese, that will be the one question I always ask them, because that's the one question I learned.
That's
perfect.
Good.
I'll leave you there, Jennifer. And thanks for today. And Ashley, all over to you. Thank you.
All right. So, Jennifer, it's been amazing hearing a little bit more about kind of your earlier career. I'm familiar, with what you've done at Agility and since then. I did get to participate in your presentation yesterday, or sit in on it, and it was amazing. So definitely thank you for sharing all that. We're going to get more into kind of the personal side, and then a little bit of some fun, crazy questions, and then wrap this up with some reflection. So
sounds great.
I know that you used to participate in Gold's Fit, kind
Yes.
of like CrossFit, but maybe less intense. With gyms being closed, how have you kind of adjusted to staying active and keeping sane in that way?
Well, let's see. I've been dabbling with a lot of different things lately, honestly. So one of the things was I bought these. I've got a home gym in my basement, and it's got pull-up bar. It's got kettlebells, dumbbells, a treadmill, and so I've been playing around in there. And I've also bought some new fitness gear, like some Liebert parallel bars. Not parallettes, which I know you're familiar with as a gymnast, but they're a little bit taller. They're called Liebert equalizers. So those are kind of fun. And I also started this interval training program online called Epic Interval Training, which is pretty neat, by a former Spartan racer OCR person who was also on the Broken Skull Ranch, which is a show that was awesome. It's been canceled, but anyway. So I've been doing that.
Wow. Yeah, I'm so jealous of your home gym. My home gym consists of like a yoga mat and a couple like free weights.
I'm saving up for a Peloton. That's next.
Ooh, nice. So you also mentioned obstacle course racing, which I hadn't heard before. So you mentioned also Spartan racing. Are those the types of obstacle courses, or Ninja Warrior? Kind of what's your obstacle course level?
Definitely not Ninja Warrior. I wish I could, but no. So the Spartan racing is the type of obstacle courses that I've raced before, and I'm looking forward to, once COVID is over, getting back into that again. It's just been a killer with COVID, trying to adjust, but I'm doing my best.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're all kind of looking forward to getting back to that normalcy and doing those fun things with groups and, in public. All right. So let's go into kind of our random round. What is one trait that you like about yourself?
I would say grit. I think that's a trait that I have that has served me well, and that's a trait, back to one of Bhaskar's questions earlier, that capture managers really need to have, is grit. Sometimes things don't always go your way, and you need to be able to power through that and figure out a workaround.
Absolutely. And you talked about that a little bit yesterday, right? Where, you can't be afraid of getting those rejections, and you have to keep trying, and it really takes grit to keep powering through like that. So if you were the president of the United States, what would you do on your first day?
I think it's about having a conversation with with the population right now. There's a lot of healing that needs to be done because of all of the political turmoil that we've had in the past few years on top of the pandemic. And I think I would have a very try to take on a consoling tone, but also give a plan in terms of what we're going to do to move forward with the economy, the environment, the the jobs and all of those things that we need to work on.
Yeah, spoken like a true leader there. When you're having a bad day, what do you do to make yourself feel better?
When I'm having a bad day, well, one of the things that I try to do to just stave off having bad days is a gratitude practice, which is journaling about the things that I'm grateful for, and the things that I get to do, and trying to stay focused on those things makes me realize that when you put it in perspective, I'm not really having a bad day. There's people that are, in a war zone, or that have lost family members. They're having a bad day. My bad day is very little in comparison to theirs.
What a great technique. So I can probably guess this answer, but what was your best subject in school?
English.
Yep, no surprises there. Have you ever ridden on a motorcycle?
Just on the back. My parents actually were motorcyclists. They took it up when I was in high school, I want to say. And so anyway, yeah. So my dad had 2 motorcycles, which I rode on the back of. I have only ever ridden a scooter myself, and yeah. I don't think I'm very good at operating that heavy machinery.
I hear you. I have never been on a motorcycle, never tried to drive one. I don't think it would end well.
I don't know. I don't know why. I just am a little bit, when I'm on a scooter or an ATV or a jet ski, I'm just not the most aggressive driver of those types of things. I don't know why it is. It's just not me.
Yeah.
I wish it were.
It looks like people have so much fun, but I know.
It does.
I hear you. And so what is the most courageous thing you've ever done?
Courageous? I would say some of the more, I would say some of the obstacle courses have tested my courage in terms of climbing objects that are high and getting outside of my comfort zone, which is why I like doing it, because it's not a part of your brain you exercise on a normal everyday basis.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, it helps. It definitely helps. That's definitely a high, doing those types of things. But I'm not going to jump out of a plane or anything like that anytime soon. So just throwing that out there.
So if you could be anywhere else in the world right now, where would you be?
I'm a huge fan of Europe. I would love to be in Spain or Italy or France, or that would be nice. But there's a ton of places I want to travel. I've already been to those places.
So where are some of the places you'd like to travel eventually, when that's a thing again?
Oh, I'd love to go back to Asia. I would love to go to Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, China. I'd love to go to South America. I mean, there's just so many places I haven't been. I've been to a lot of places, but there's a lot of places I haven't been.
Yeah, sounds like you have a good bucket list there.
I do.
So you mentioned, we know you're great at writing and great at communicating and capture. You're not very good at, heavy machinery. Yes. What is something else that you're not very good at?
Things that I'm not very good at. There's probably a ton of things I'm not very good at. thinking out loud. I would say that do you mean business related or just in general?
In general, it can be business, but it doesn't have to be.
I would say from a business or from a skill set perspective, I think I could be stronger as in quantitative. I mean, I can do arithmetic in my head all day long, and I understand pricing strategy and things like that. But when it comes to just opening up an Excel spreadsheet, I don't know why, but I just want to close it right away. So I don't know. It's not that I have a fear of or dislike of math. I just, I'm just more of a English person. I'm more of a words person than I am a math person. I would say that.
Yeah, totally get it. So if you could be an Olympic athlete, in what sport would you compete?
I would definitely do some. I would definitely be in the Winter Olympics, and I would say downhill skiing.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned a few other sports earlier, but that wasn't one of them. You mentioned a lot of snowboarding and swimming. So skiing, very cool. Why do superheroes wear their underwear outside of their clothes, do you suppose?
Usually it's a nice contrast. I said that I liked fashion, right? So I would say it's the contrast between the tights and the shirt with the underwear. Because, I mean, they're usually not the same color.
Right.
So I think that's the main reason.
Yeah, I like it. So would you rather live one life that lasts 1,000 years or live 10 lives that last 100 years each?
I would say 10 lives that last 100 years each for the variety.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
If a genie granted you 3 wishes, what would they be?
Oh, gosh. I would say good health for sure. That would be the number one because I think everything starts from there. I would say that my kids have good health as well, or I would say my close-knit family. Let's say that. I would be greedy. And then I would say, just prosperity.
Those are great. So if you were a pirate, what would your pirate name be, and what would you name your ship?
What would I name my what?
Your pirate ship.
Oh, okay.
Sorry if that sounded like something else not appropriate.
It did. Okay. So my pirate name would definitely. I would say my pirate name would be Captain Sapphire or something like that, cool. Because yes, for the sea. And my ship. I feel like my ship should have a Spanish name for some reason. So I would name my ship like El Pescadero or something like that.
Oh, I love it. So if you could only eat 3 foods for the rest of your life, what foods would you choose?
You should have started with this question because this one's like an easy one for me. I would definitely choose, and I've thought about this so many times. As much as I love sushi, I don't think I should eat it every day. But so this for health and happiness, I would definitely choose salmon, broccoli, and rice. I know that sounds boring, but I think I'd be perfectly healthy if I ate that every day.
Yeah, definitely. And even for breakfast, you'd be good with salmon and rice?
Oh, yeah. In Japan, we eat salmon and rice for breakfast.
All the time, I bet. Yeah. Nice. All right. So do you have anything of sentimental value that you keep on hand?
Sentimental value? I would say my photographs of some pictures of my kids, of some pictures of my parents, and things like that. Yeah. Some of my jewelry, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, but I'm more of an experience person than a thing person, right?
Yeah.
You could take everything away from me, but I want to have it's experiences that make the best memories.
Definitely, and I'm sure that's why the photographs were the first to come to mind, because they make you remember those memories a little bit.
Absolutely.
So we're going to kind of switch gears and reflect on kind of, those influences you've had in your life and kind of how you got to where you are today. So looking back, who are the people who have been the most influential in your life and career?
Yeah, definitely my parents were, to start out with, to get that good foundation. And like I said, my mom was a federal government servant, civil servant, and she so she got me into this when I was getting out of journalism, wasn't quite sure what to do. And my dad worked for the Japanese embassy, and he was the one who encouraged me to go to Japan. So those were big moments for me early in life. And then when I got into my first job, I had a mentor named Claudia, who was she was wonderful. She taught me a lot about proposals, proposal management, proposal writing, and so I learned a ton from her. We're still friends. She's retired now. So I would say those two were great mentors for me.
Oh, that's amazing. COVID has come up a little bit today in our discussion. It's hard not to, given the circumstances.
Yeah.
So what have you observed lately that has reminded you that people are good?
Well, I would say that, my mother-in-law, she lives next door to me, and she's awesome. She's just, so my husband is from Iran, and so he was born there, and he came over when he was in kindergarten, and his parents are from there, and she's going through a lot right now. She's elderly, and she's just so brave and very she's still trying to help everyone else out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So on a similar vein, who is the kindest person that you know?
Yeah, I would say that she's, because of that she's like one of the kindest people that I know. She's just, I've never seen her mad. I've never seen her, and lose it. It's just quite remarkable. I wish I had that kind of patience and kindness.
Wow, it sounds like an amazing person to have in your life, and you're so lucky to have her right next door.
Yep.
So reflecting on, the beginnings of your career, is there anything that you wish you had known when you started off into the world of government contract and proposals?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that never get too high, never get too low. I mean, I would say one of the things is it's easy, like if you have a lot of success at this all at once, which I did, it's easy to start thinking that you've made it. You already know everything, and you're never gonna fail or screw up. And that definitely happened to me. Ego got in the way. So I would say that you've got to continuously learn. You've got to realize that just because you've got this amazing streak of wins, sometimes things can not go your way, right? You can lose a deal, or people, you might have great relationships with some people, you might not be able to have those same relationships with other people. So it's just always constantly trying to position yourself, put yourself in the best circumstances that you can. That's one thing I would say that's different about capture and proposal management is try to work on opportunities that you think will ultimately be successful, right? Yeah. And it's not selfish. You're looking out for the company too, but you should try to put yourself in as good of a situation as possible.
That's such great advice. So over the years, I'm sure that you've gotten advice from lots of different people. What is the best piece of advice that you've received, and who gave it to you?
I received advice that, from some other senior business development folks that I've worked with over the years, that, you should really be focused on not trying to talk so much, but really listen and ask really great questions of folks. And that way you'll get more information that you can use in your proposals and things like that, rather than you just talking all the time and trying to sell yourself.
Yeah.
So that was good advice. And then I would say more recently from a manager and mentor I had, he said to really communicate with everyone in the company and leaders, and make sure that you're communicating everything, whether it's the negative and the positive, and making sure that they're aware of everything that's going on and on the ground.
Wow.
In terms of your capture. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing advice. And I'm sure our listeners will be able to learn from that as well. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. So it has been amazing learning about kind of your progression through the proposal world into the capture world, becoming such a successful capture professional, your current role at Leidos. We're curious, what's next for you? What are some of the things that you're looking forward to in the future?
I mean, I really enjoy working for Leidos, and it's a very well run company. In terms of the processes, they're extraordinary. The people are extraordinary. The work that we're doing around the world is extraordinary. Mm-hmm. So it definitely plan on having a good career there. In the future, capture is always good. It's always good to expand your horizons and mm-hmm. learn other things, learn other skill sets. So I've definitely invested in doing that, learning more about just anything I can get my hands on. I'm constantly trying to learn new things, whether it's design thinking, whether it's digital marketing, anything that can. So I've got kind of an entrepreneurial streak in me, and so possibly I'll go in that direction, but we never know.
Yeah, well, we're very lucky on the NCA board that we get your entrepreneurial spirit and those innovations that are going to help us to really engage our members this year. So we're really excited to have you on board for that, for sure.
I'm excited too. I've enjoyed meeting everyone, and it's a great opportunity to expand the depth of connections that I have with people, and find out more about what people are doing and what they're wanting to learn. I mean, I love talking to people who are earlier in their career, and how they can get to that next level and really kind of stand out and get promoted and things like that. So that's really exciting to me. So anything I can do in that regard, I enjoy.
Oh, absolutely. It's so important for us to kind of keep growing that future generation of professionals, and it's great to have you as a resource for that. So is there anything today that you had hoped to share with the community that we didn't touch upon?
No, not that I can think of. You guys asked a lot of great questions today, a lot of things I haven't thought about in a while. So it's interesting to reflect.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we thank you so much for your time today. It's really been a privilege to have you with us at Scribble Talk. We wish you all the good health and happiness. Please continue to inspire bid and capture and proposal industry colleagues. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay sane.
Thank you.
To our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Please visit baachuscribble.com/podcast to listen to this episode and check out any of our other previously recorded episodes. If you've enjoyed today's interview, don't forget to subscribe, review, and share the Scribble Talk podcast. We hope you'll check out our next episode where we interview another industry expert and special guest. Until then, it's Ashley Kays,
Bhaskar Sundaram,
signing off.